Hello viewers, welcome back. And in this video, I will talk about a book and especially a chapter from the book Orientalism. Orientalism is a 1978 book by Edward W. Said. And in this book, the writer Edward Said has tried to uh, give or he has tried to depict the concept of Orientalism. What do the writer mean by Orientalism and how Orientalism works in culture, philosophy, literary theory, and history? These all kinds of things are uh, critically examined and discussed by the writer. Got it? So first, let's try to know little bit about the author. Edward Warry said he was born on 1 November 1935 and died on 24 September 2003, and he was a professor of literature at Columbia University, and he was also a public intellectual and a founder of the academic field of postcolonial studies. And he was a Palestinian American born in mandatory Palestinian, as he was Palestinian. So he was a citizen of the United States too, but from his father's side, as his father was a US Army veteran. Got it? But his origin is Palestinian. And before moving on to the topic now, first we have to know what is Orientalism. This is our writer, Edward Said. Okay. First, we have to know what is Orientalism. Then only all things will be clear for you. Now, Orientalism means Western ideas about the Middle East and about East and Southeast Asia, especially ideas that are too simple or not accurate about these societies being mysterious, never changing, or not able to develop in a modern way without Western help. So, uh, Orientalism means uh, the Western people, they always try to portray Middle East or Asian countries or Asian cultures in their own way. The the West, the West always tries to depict India, Asian culture or Middle East culture, their way of life, their religion in a very stereotype way. They will try to compare their religion with the Asian religion, with the Southeast Asian religion, and with the Middle East religion. So when they are comparing in that way, they are bringing some kind of uh, distinction, and through that distinction, through that difference, they will try to make some kinds of uh, notes that our West culture is superior than the East culture, and they will try to define that thing through literary works, through social media, through various kinds of media like printing, right, audio, video, like that, through painting and through various works. They will try to depict that thing, uh, and that all thing is basically, that all process is basically called Orientalism. And in Orientalism, it is also believed by the Western people that the East culture or the Eastern culture or Eastern society, they are very mysterious, they are never changing, and they can never develop or they can never progress without the help of them. Okay, like we all know, British have thought that India would collapse after they um, when they left India completely collapsed. That was their belief system. But we have seen in the later part of their time that even the British had gone, then too India was stand still and India was prospering, right? So that kind of mentality, that kind of stereotype was there by the British that without the help of West, the East cannot survive, the East cannot be enlightened, East cannot prosper as a nation or as a culture or as a community. That was their belief system, and that was also an example of Orientalism. Got it? I hope you have understood. And there are many more stereotypes that the East is always lost in poverty. They are always lost in uh, illiteracy. They have no idea about the world, and they are not sufficient enough to be compared with the West. That kind of stereotypes, that kind of thinking was there among the Western people. So that all thing is called Orientalism. I hope you have understood. And apart from that, Orientalism is a way of seeing that imagines, emphasizes, exaggerates, and distorts differences of Arab peoples and cultures as compared to that of Europe and the US. It often involves seeing Arab culture as exotic, backward, uncivilized, and at times dangerous. So the Europe or the West, they always believe that Asian culture or Arab culture, or we can say some for some extent Indian culture, they are very exotic. They are backward, uncivilized, and they are dangerous too. They are barbaric. So uh, to enlighten them, they must means we must need West according to the Orientalism. Got it? Or according to the this West. That's why you must have heard that we are not there. This kind of thinking was there in our India when British was ruling on us. At that time, it was said that by the British people that India we are not doing any kind of atrocity on Indian people. Rather, we are enlightening them, or rather, we are civilizing them through education, through various kinds of policies, works, various kinds of laws. That was the core belief of the Western people or the British people, right? But in reality, that was not the case, as we all know, because the British officials or the British government at the time has tried to exploit our resources, and they have even tried to take many things from our India to to your native land. That we all know, right? Means on the one hand, they were saying that they were doing some kinds of uh, charity work by being in India, by being ruling in our India. And for them, that was the process of enlightening Indian people. Many Britishers believed that, and they were very sad when they left India because now their process of civilizing and enlightening will be no more. So they were very sad, right? That was their belief system of the British people, right? So that is an example of Orientalism. Got it? And they have thought that Sanskrit and other Indian native languages that are obsolete, that cannot be used in science, medicine, literature, and any kind of this discourse. That was their belief system, and they had even predicted that India would be destroyed as soon as they left. That kind of thinking was there. Means they had always thought that India or that colony where they were ruling, there is nothing, means the the people of that colony is not eligible enough to rule by themselves. Even Hitler had thought like that, and even Soviet Union had thought like that for some extent. As Mahatma Gandhi was practicing non-violence instead of uh, revolution, military revolution, or we can say the armed revolution. So that kind of thinking was there by the East, oh sorry, by the West. So that's all a part of Orientalism. I hope you have understood this thing. And the Western people, whatever they have seen, whatever they have faced, felt, that all thing, uh, whether that things are in culture, way of life, religion, and textile, and economic condition, whatever they have seen and whatever they have faced, that all things they have tried to compare and contrast with their religion, oh sorry, with their own counterpart. And they have found that this East East culture is not like us, and their culture is very enigmatic. Therefore, their culture is means not up to the standard, and their culture is obsolete, and their culture is uh, not as good as West. That kind of thinking was there. But the Western people, they have never tried to do the ground research. They have never uh, come to this Asia or to the East, and they have never done any kind of deep ground research to understand or to comprehend the society, the ritual, the culture, the religion of East of Eastern people. Rather, they have seen these all things only from 2 3 days visit, and in that too They have had numerous kinds of prejudice, hypocrisy, and preconceived ideas. And therefore, Edward W. Said has had said that the Western people, they have never uh, tried to dig deep into the mysteries of Eastern uh, culture or Eastern lifestyle, and that all things are uh, emphatically discussed throughout this essay. But we will take only one chapter of this essay. And the chapter one is the scope of Orientalism that we will discuss. Okay. Okay. The scope of Orientalism, it covers all the dimensions of the subject, both in terms of historical experiences and time period. Moreover, it also covers the subject in terms of political as well as philosophical themes, said provides a review of pre-18th century writing on the Muslim Near East and socio-political impact of Napoleon's invasion of Egypt in 1798. According to him, the East was viewed as a textual universe for the West. The European Orientalists had keen interest in classical rather than contemporary periods of the Eastern culture. This is the thing he has mentioned in the chapter 1, the scope of Orientalism. Here, there is nothing to be explained, so I hope you have understood just by reading and you can take a screenshot. Okay, before moving on, let me give you an example. Here in our India, you might have heard that movie which has also won Oscar award, Slumdog Millionaire. Those Oscar is not a big thing for us as we live in a different society, and the US or the Oscar too does not care about us or about our movies. Our movies are made for our own audience, not for the US, right? But then too, people are very crazy when it comes to Oscar, right? So when the movie Slumdog Millionaire was made, and that was to made by the Western film director, and in that movie, the negative side of India was depicted. You have seen the movie, and if you have not seen the movie, then you must watch the movie. In that movie, it is described that India is full of poverty. Means they have tried to only explore the negative side of India, not the positive one. Poverty is there, that is true, and poverty you will get not only in our India, even in US too, and even in uh, West too, you will get numerous poverty. Got it? So they have tried to depict that film, the negative side of our India, and they have not tried to explore the positive side of our India. So in that movie, it is depicted that how a child from the slum, he has uh, become a millionaire. That picture is given or portrayed in that picture, but uh, but there are other positive sides of our India too that was not portrayed in that movie. So the the West, or the Western people, they always try to draw this kind of thing in their literature, in their film, movies, in their music, songs, and in their all discourses. And this is a sign of Orientalism. Got it? This is a part of Orientalism. You should watch that movie, then only you will get to know. And by by watching that movie, the West turned people were very happy that, oh, India is a very poor. Oh, in India there are people, those who are living in slum, they are crying out for food, they are crying out for help, that kind of thing. And they were very happy that India is a poor country, and our this counter narrative is not there, that India is not only limited to that thing. So we has believed that India is like that, India's culture is like that, and still you will see that many foreigners, or many tourists from the West, they are coming. Most of them, they just come here to take photographs of the hunger, poverty stricken people, right? And they will show that we are doing some kind of charity for the poor people, for the needy people. That is okay to do, but you don't have to uh, do the publicity of that certain thing. So these all are a part of Orientalism. I hope you have comprehended. Got it? Okay. Now try to speak. Uh, let's try to discuss in broad way. So in chapter one, part one, Edward Said has defined what he means by Orientalism. He does so through the evaluation of specific Orientalists at the time when the Orient itself was defined generally as Asia or the East, geographically, morally, culturally. And in 1910, Arthur James Balfour addressed his qualifications for being superior with regard to people you choose to call Oriental. He argued he was able to speak regarding the Orient based on his knowledge of the Orient civilization. There is nothing to explain, so you can understand just by reading, and I will just give you thorough reading. Another well-known Orientalist was Lord Cromer, England's representative in Egypt between 1883 and 1907. Rather than speaking about the Orient as an abstract, Cromer spoke more specifically about his experiences in India and Egypt, emphasizing that both knowledge and power made the management of these countries easy. Said argues that these aspects of Orientalism did not served to justify colonialism after the fact, but rather provided the premise for colonial rule at the outset. The initial creation of a framework of domination during the 18th and 19th centuries allowed for domination to occur. This framework was initially characterized as an us versus them dichotomy established by those who were in power and thus in a position to act as knowledge producers. Said also stated that this is the basis of the main intellectual issue raised by Orientalism. In those cases where an us versus them dichotomy arises, is it possible to avoid the hostility expressed by the division? Said argues that to understand how the framework of Orientalism arose, it is necessary to understand the historical context under which it was generated, and at its core, Orientalism represents a system of knowledge and perceived power regarding the Orient that frame interaction with the West. Said concludes that the chapter by setting up the historical timeline for the development of Orientalism through the 18th to 20th centuries. He goes on to describe in later parts. So now let's analyze the first chapter, the scope of Orientalism. Edward Said has set up his argument against Orientalism by focusing on the views of two early Orientalists, Arthur James Balfour and Lord Cromer. By beginning the text with specific definition of Orientalism, Edward Said has set the tone for the rest of the text rather than focusing on fleshing out a purely theoretical argument. He has used a specific textual examples to support his ideas, his argument, and his uh, perspective. While previous scholarly works had brought similar ideas regarding Orientalism, the strength of Said's text and why it continues to be considered one of the seminal anthropological works is the level of detail he provides across a wide span of history. In order to do this, Said has provided sections of Balfour and Cromer's pieces, breaking down their arguments sentence by sentence and word by word. From the outset, he has provided historical evidence for the use of the terms Orient and Orientalism within literature. Thus, Edward Said is able to make the argument that these terms have a historical basis found in literature. This is a fundamental concept for his argument that Orientalism was formed from previously conceived definitions and understandings. These archaic understandings of a complex group of people clumped under the term Orient were continuously used for centuries and up to the present day. Said claims their basis is in original literary texts such as Chaucer and Mandeville, Shakespeare, Dryden, Pope, and Byron. Furthermore, by breaking down the individual arguments of Balfour and Cromer, Said is able to evaluate their tone and perspective to illustrate how they create and us versus them. This is all I have already said. Us versus them means West versus East. Dichotomy, how the Orient is dehumanized and how the natives' power to speak is removed. Using both Balfour and Cromer, Said is able to show that in case of two different Orientalists, one removed from the Orient and the other directly involved in the everyday management of the Orient, the framework for talking about the Orient remained the same. Thus, Orientalism was not confined to a specific group of people but was a pervasive background. So that's it. If you want to take a screenshot, then you can take it, or you can paste the video and you can note it down whatever is there in this PDF. Okay, and thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you have enjoyed the video, and I have also convinced that you have known little bit about Orientalism. Thank you so much.